Hello, guys. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. We are halfway through the week. It is almost Friday, and you guys know how I feel about Friday because that is the weekend for me. No work and a lot of play. Welcome, everyone. I want to give shout outs to people in the chat. What is going on? Steve says waiting. I hope you weren't waiting too long, Steve. I try to start on time. I try. Shout out to Joe OWS. He said the people of the United States needs a Marshall Plan. Ooh, I second that. Second that one. By the way, I look normal tonight, you guys. I am not in 360 view. I know some of you got a kick out of that last night. Give me just a second. I am going to tilt my camera down just a tad. I think my head is okay. There we go. Yeah, I know some of you got a kick out of that last night, but I'm back to normal, Sabby. What's going on, Diane Conklin? She's a Sabby member. Hey, Sabby, it's almost Friday, my friend. Exactly. You guys know how I feel about my Fridays. It's one of those weeks. It's one of those weeks. What is going on, Black People Unite? I saw that interview Bree did. That interview got heated. Yes, indeed, it did. We're going to talk about that tonight. Yeah, you can see 20 minutes of the video on YouTube and the full video on Patreon. But yeah, I'm going to talk about that video later on. What's going on? Alex Lopez says, hurry up, girl. I'm here. What's going on, Valerie? Hello, chat friends and Sabby. Greetings, Jonathan. A Ted Cruz ad played just before the stream started for me. What? No. Dang, YouTube. YouTube, man, you're wrong for that one. You are wrong for that one. Shout out to Eric Thomas, who's a Sabby member. Hi, all. I'm in a car on the way to Canada. Let's hope my mobile internet keeps working. Are you going to Montreal, Eric? That's my spot. I love Montreal. Wait a minute. You can cross the border now? Because I know they shut it down like during the pandemic, but this is good to know. I must go back to Montreal. Good food, good people. What is going on, Shayar? Good afternoon, Misfits. Good afternoon. Where are you at? It's 7 p.m. where I am. Must be in a different time zone. Greetings, Greg Bruce, who's a Sabby member, says, hump day. Yes, absolutely. It is Wednesday. Greetings, Monique in London. How are you doing? What's up? What is up? Going through the comments in the chat. Just like to say hello to everyone. Greetings, Ashura, Sabby Sabs. That interview with Boutique Left Karen was cringe. And doesn't give a F about only herself. Oh man, there are so many different views about that interview. I'm going to tell you guys my opinion about it as well. Apparently it got a little heated on Twitter too. You know how it is. Christian, what's going on? Here we go. Love you, Sabby, and your giant face yesterday. Oh my God. I've never seen my face that up close and personal. And it's my face. Yeah, that was a funny moment. Greetings, Matt. What is up? Valerie said, what interview can't wait? Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. Bree did an interview with Talia Levin. And I hope I pronounced her name correctly. And it is very interesting. I'm going to tell you guys, if you haven't seen that, please go watch that interview. Greeting Delthea Simmons, who's a Sabby member. She said, hello, everybody. What is going on? Don't tell the house slaves. Canadians are accepting Americans now. Woohoo! This is good to know. I can go back to Montreal and get some poutine. We have poutine here in Boston too, but it does not compare to what you get like in Montreal. Like that's the real deal. Greetings, Swift Drifter. Hello. I think that's a Joker face. I think that might be the Joker. Oh, Eric is going to Ontario. I have to show proof of the jab and negative tests to get in. Oh, okay. Well, cool. I can go then. Hop in my car and ride on up there. We're not far from Canada, so we can drive, you know? Chris Coleman said ad. Yeah. I don't like the fact they played a Ted Cruz ad before my video. Sabby not like. I don't like that. What's going on? Pitchforks are coming. Hello, everyone. Greetings, all. And a huge shout out to Robert. Oh, Robert, I just lost your name. You were just here a minute ago. I saw you. There you are. Brianna Joy Gray did an amazing job keeping her temper. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna get into that because I don't know if I could have been as calm. I just gotta say, I don't know if I could have been as calm. Delthea said, "Oh, that interview. Yes. Greetings, Diana." She said, "Sabby, you're the best. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate it." Good evening, Jimmy Doors Garage. Always a pleasure to see you as well. All right. Welcome to Sabby Sabs Podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you are new to my channel, Sabby Sabs is a part of the Fred Hampton Leftist Network. You can catch me there on Thursdays for the Roundtable and Friday, 5:30 for the Sabby Sabs Show. And you can catch me here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday evening. So let's get into it, guys. I am going to open up my thumbnail. Let me find it. Story of my life trying to find things. So there were a couple of things that I thought about talking about tonight, but these three really hit the nail on the head for me. And so these are the ones that I chose to talk about. So I'm going to share my screen. What is going on? Chris Neal said Black Bruce Wayne has entered the chat. Hey, Sabby. Thanks so much for the super chat, Chris. Always a pleasure to see you. You guys should definitely follow Chris on Twitter. He has some funny things to say. Funny things to say. All right, here we go. Here's what we are talking about tonight. What's happening in the world right now? Brianna Joy Gray, powerful interview. That's with her and Talia Levin. Ooh, I don't know if I probably should start with that one first. I'm going to start with that one first. Ted Cruz says, get a job. Of course. And Time's Up, the nonprofit that was backing women in entertainment against sexual harassment and sexual assault, has come under fire. That is going to be an interesting story. But first and foremost, I think I'm going to get started with the Brianna Joy Gray interview because this is one of those moments, you know, you ever had one of those moments where like somebody's really, really like just working your nerve and then, you know, there's so much you just want to say. You really want to kind of let it all out, but you know you have to, you know, bite your tongue and try to keep your cool and stay calm. Bree's really good at that. And I was watching this interview and I was just like, oh my God, no, she didn't. Not Bree, but the woman that she was interviewing. So I don't think I would have been able to be as calm. You guys know how I am. I am I don't hold back. I try to, but when someone really, really upsets me, I'm just like, you know what? Forget it. That's it. Boom, I'm going in. Go for the neck. Jimmy Doors Garage said, they said Brianna Joy Gray committed violence. Oh my God. Eric Thomas said, Sabs don't like BS. No, I don't. I don't. That's something that I do need to work on myself because there's been times when I've been at work and in meetings and people have said some questionable things. And I've just been like, yeah, you don't get to say that to me. Here we go, guys. All right. So let me share my screen. So what I'm going to show you first is Afeni actually tweeted about this. And let me show you what Afeni said. I'm going to make my screen just a little bit bigger. I don't know if that's too big or not. Does it still show? Yeah, it does. All right. This is what she said in reference to this interview with Bree and Talia. I have said it before and I will say it again. Anti-racist white folks need to organize their races as cousins into movement, period. You guys got to say it the way Afeni says it, period. um, that was in response to this video. Now, let me go into Bree's post because this is where the video lies. And I'm going to read Bree's tweet and then I'm going to play the video so you'll understand where she's coming from. So she said, "New Bad Faith Pod, thank you for not smoking. I spoke to author at Chick in Kiev about the lessons learned from her 1.5 year long deep dive into the online alt-right. Is it time to shop for brass knuckles and get to Nazi punching? Listen now." All right, let me play this video. So that tells you guys what this is about. I wanted to start by saying that. I'm going to mute my mic. Listen to this clip. I want to get your takes on it. I have mine. And you said the video is not in focus, Gene. Can you guys see the video? I can see it just fine. Oh, I see it on focus on my end. Might be just you, Gene. Here we go. Let me mute my mic and I'm going to play the video.
For example, when you're on these dating sites, you know, do you ever engage in any kind of conversations that tried to see what would happen if you raised doubts about being a white supremacist or, brought up, well, there's this one Black person at work who's okay. And sometimes, what are those kind of conversations like?
Those conversations incel spaces bar women, like the whitedate.net is whitedate.net. Well, I'm supposed to write to people who are talking about like the evil Marxists and darkies and say like, actually, like Black people aren't so bad after all. I mean, honestly, if I had known that this was going to be an extended conversation about the utility of de-radicalization versus anti-fascism, I would absolutely have not agreed to be on this podcast because I've gotten this banal question over and over and over again, and I loathe it at this point. Being in those spaces is fucking like dipping your head in acid. And I did it for 1.5 years. I wouldn't ask anyone else to do it. Asking people to like imbibe white supremacist propaganda and engage in emotional intimacy with white supremacists, which is what de-radicalization entails, a deep, 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 deep emotional intimacy of years-long relationships of talking, conversation. And like, yes, that is inherently more personal than a punch in the face. These conversations that take place in Nazi chat rooms, these conversations that take place on these forums are poison. They are poison, and they are perpetual emotion machines of radicalization. If you went in and you said like, hey, like, knock it off, don't talk about immigrants that way, you'd just be kicked out, and they'd dox you anyway.
I don't know that that's what I said, Talia, but that characterization aside, I totally understand and would never ask anybody to engage in de-radicalization either. But I also wouldn't ask any individual to engage in a physical altercation with a Nazi. What I'm trying to explore is the potential political utility of different kinds of options and to assess how effective de-radicalization actually is.
Okay. Where do I begin? I'm going to try to keep my cool when I do this. Okay. All right, let's make something very clear here. As someone that has a DEI background, diversity, equity, and inclusion, this topic has come up before about being an ally and about anti-racism. Learned a lot about it over the past couple of years, even before George Floyd, but after George Floyd, it really ramped up, right? Yeah, I'm going to do that. Don't tell the house slave said, drink your tea, breathe, and take your time. I'm going to take a sip. Hold on. Oh boy. Here we go. First of all, it is not the responsibility of Black people to try to convince white people to be anti-racist. Do not put that on Black people. We had to have this conversation at my job. We had a whole town hall about it. This was right after George Floyd. Do not come to Black people and ask us to try to make white people who are racist be anti-racist. It's not on us. I want to make that point very clear first and foremost. For Talia being in those spaces, the question that Bree was asking her, for Bree, to say to her, did you try? Like basically what Bree was saying was like, when you were in those spaces, did you try to say to them, like, well, I know Black people and this is why, I don't believe that what you're saying is true. This is why I don't think that Black people are bad. Excuse me, hiccup. And trying to convince them to think otherwise, to be anti-racist. For Talia being in that space at that time, yes, honey, that is your responsibility. I'm not too keen on her using the word darkies either. I got a problem with that. Got a problem. But that was not a stupid question for Bree to ask her. You're in it. You were in those alt-right spaces, whether it was online or in person, whether you infiltrated, whatever you were trying to do, you were there. So one of the ways that you can really be an ally for Black people, and you're in those spaces and you know that what they're saying is not true, say something. Because it is going to be you that will convince them to think otherwise. Most of the time, it is not going to be Black people that convince them to think otherwise. They already dislike us. That interview is very good. I highly recommend that you go watch that interview. Like I said, 20 minutes of it is on YouTube. The rest is on Patreon. But it just really like irked my nerve that Talia became upset with Bree for even bringing up the discussion. Honey, you were in Nazi spaces and Nazi places. And you're upset because you went on to a Black woman show and she was basically asking you, like, what did you do to fight against it when you were in those spaces? Did you try to convince them and try to talk to them about it? She's like, well, yeah, what am I supposed to say? Hey, I know Black people and they're not like that. Yes. And it doesn't have to be people that are Nazis. These are the conversations that don't happen sometimes at the table. The conversations where you'll hear people, maybe a friend, could be a family member, you'll hear them make racist comments and you don't say anything. You might get really quiet. You might laugh it off. Silence is one of the worst things that you can do, but also not being an ally. Stand up, say something, speak up. What are you afraid of? So yes, honey, you were in those spaces. Bree was not. And even if Bree was in those spaces, I would not expect her to do that. That is not her job. That is your job. I'm going to go to some of the comments in the chat and I have something else to say about that in just a second. Noli D said silence is violence. Yes. For the people who choose to be silent, when these racist issues come up, for the people who choose to be silent, you think you're playing it safe if you don't say anything one way or the other. That's just as bad as going along with it. Because I can tell you, as a Black person, I'm not going to be happy with you being silent. Do not come to me and say you are a friend. Do not come to me and say you are an ally. And when you're in those spaces, with people of privilege and you are privileged as well, and they're making these racist comments and you don't say anything and you're not being an ally, you're not there in solidarity, don't think that I would be okay with that, because I'm not. Most Black people are not. But you cannot put this on us. And she had every right to ask you that question. Going back to some of the comments in the chat. Alex said, I agree completely. And I also wouldn't want to put that on Talia as a Jew in Nazi spaces. But she put herself there, right? Like, because right, from what I understand, yeah, exactly. So Talia is also Jewish. And what you don't see in that clip, that's why I said you got to go watch the full interview. What you don't see in that clip is, Talia also brings up the fact that she's Jewish. And, obviously there is racism towards Jewish people as well. And at one point during the interview, it was almost like Talia was trying to make it seem like there was this competition of racism between like Jewish people and Black people. And Bree kind of breaks it down for her and says, like, well, as a Black person, I am a descendant of slaves in this country. Our experiences, don't get me wrong, we have both been oppressed. Yes. But our experiences are not quite the same. We still haven't received reparations, which was owed to us by General Sherman. We never got that. We never got that. It's Black communities that have to deal with underfunded and under-resourced schools. Every time we tried to build a community for ourselves in this country and it became really successful, it was either burned down or it was gentrified. I lived in a neighborhood when I was in Brooklyn. I was looking for an apartment. I was desperate. I'm just going to be honest. I was desperate. I needed something cheap and I needed something fast. The neighborhood I lived in, it was called Midwood. It's over by the avenues, Avenue A, B, C, all that stuff. And it's a Jewish neighborhood. And there were a couple Black people that lived on my street. And again, at the time, it was something for at that moment. I was like, here I am. This is what I got to do. But you know what I noticed? And it really opened up my eyes. I'm walking down the street in the neighborhood and everything in the neighborhood was Jewish owned. The stores, the grocery store. There was one restaurant in that neighborhood that wasn't, and that was DeFara's Pizza. Mr. DeFara made some good pizza. I'm just going to keep it real. Best pizza in New York, in my opinion. Mr. DeFara at that time, I think, was like 80 something years old. He had been here for like forever. He made the pizza. He didn't let anybody else make the pizza. But anyway, I'm going into a tangent. Sorry, I'm talking about food. I get excited about pizza. But anyway, that said something to me. Because at one point in this country, Black people had that too. We had that in Harlem. All the different Black Wall Streets, Durham, Tulsa, we had that too, where the Black dollar constantly turned in the community. But every time we did it, it was taken from us. We don't have that now. Some people say, well, there's Atlanta. Nah, boo. Because the last time I went to Atlanta, Atlanta's being gentrified too. It's just the truth. So when Bree was trying to explain to her that basically, like, look, yeah, both groups have been oppressed, but our struggle is not the same. That is absolutely true. It's not the same. But it just killed me that this woman went on to a Black woman show and she was shocked that she got that question and she got upset. And then she started going after, like, venting about it on Twitter. What did you expect her to ask you? What'd you have for lunch today? Come on. Give me a break. Give me a break. And people are coming after Brie on Twitter for this. It's her fault. Where Pilgrim said, yeah, the Twitter stuff was equally cringe. It was pretty bad. Some of the comments that I saw people make to Brie on Twitter was just absolutely ridiculous. Jonathan said, such a middle class grievance. Noli said, hey, white people didn't put my tribe in the desert. My reservation is in the rainforest. The Robert Escobar show said, I think she was just expecting Brie to go along with every crazy thing she said. I think so too. I mean, like, what do you expect? What do you expect? We can't talk about our oppression. We can't talk about being Black. People come after us. People come after me. Watch. Right after this video, people are going to be saying Sabby's racist. People have already said that about me. Anytime I talk about Black issues, I'm racist. It's hilarious to me. Going to some of the comments in the chat. Greg said all she had to say was, I didn't say anything, but I should have. Boom. There you go. She became very defensive. She's asked your question. Very defensive. What do you expect me to say? And you notice Brie remained calm the whole time. Go watch I'm telling you guys, watch the interview. She remained calm the whole time. I don't know how to do that. I'm working on that. I think I need to start yoga or something. Because once I get to that level, it just... Oh my gosh. Chris said, the lady is clearly unserious. BJG is and shall always be a G. Yeah, just come on. You went on a Black woman show. You were in these alt-right spaces talking to Nazis, and you went on a Black woman show. What, you didn't expect her to ask you about that? Come on. Come on. Optimism of the Will said, Sabby, you do a pretty heroic job of not losing your cool. Well, thank you. I've been told otherwise. Oh, man. Yes, I have been told otherwise sometimes. So, yeah. Just JC said, Brie always gets the most unhinged attacks. It's ridiculous. You guys ever notice that? I'm going to tell you a little secret. Women in this space are heavily attacked. But Black women, that's why I told you guys a lot of times, like, I try to go through my DMs, but a lot of times when I get those message requests, I'm just like, not even going to look at it. You'd be surprised. Thank you so much, Noli D, for the super sticker. Justin said, people forget journalism isn't public relations. Brie did a great job trying to explore her ideology and remain calm about it the whole time. The whole time. And another thing, stop it with people kill me with this. Please stop going on to people's shows and then afterwards getting on Twitter saying, I didn't want to come on there anyway. I wouldn't have done the show if I knew this. I wouldn't have. Just stop. Just stop. You were there. You were there because you wanted to be. Bill said, isn't Bree a Harvard educated lawyer? No one on the internet is going to shake her. There you go. There you go. Ilhanner said, my uncle's family is from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He told me how he lost almost all of his family in that massacre. Yeah. Black Wall Street. Like I said, there were a couple of them. It wasn't just that one, but you 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 have to understand that you can say that two groups are oppressed, but that doesn't mean that their oppression is the same. Because for Black people, we've had education taken from us. Then they decided, okay, we are going to let them learn how to read and write, but then they only let us do so much. And we had schools, and then they gave us the poor schools. And they said we have to give them jobs. We'll give them jobs, but we're going to pay them less. And when it comes to ownership, forget it. It's not to say that we don't own things, but when you compare us to other groups, not the way that we should and not the way that we could. Thank you so much, J.H. Scott 6, for the super sticker. So it's one of those things when I see these type of events here happen, it makes me cringe, because you know what you're going into, what you're getting into. You're going on the show. You know your background. You know what you've done. And then you're going to try to blame the Black person instead of taking responsibility for the things that you did. Instead of taking responsibility for the fact that you weren't really being an ally. It's the Black person's fault. Gene said between 1890 and 1960, neighborhoods built by white-owned builders were exclusively only for white people. I'm saying white people. Truth. And it's one of those things too that you have to, even today, there are still communities where Black people can't buy real estate in. Is it written down, contract? No, not necessarily, but it's done other ways. Realtors will tell you that there's nothing for sale or that that house is under contract, even though it's not. They'll direct you to Black neighborhoods. They don't want you living in the wealthy white neighborhood, even though you have the credit, even though you have the money. If you're not a celebrity, forget it. And even then, you see how they do you. Look at what they did to LeBron. LeBron's not only a professional basketball player, he's a celebrity, but look at everything that he's done in his community in Ohio. He built a school, always giving back. And they still wrote the N-word on his house. Black people always reminded that we're Black. Shout out to Delthea Simmons for the super chat. Bree asked this woman what her end game was. The woman didn't know or didn't want to say. I'm for punching Nazis, but that's not an end game kind of thing. No, it isn't. What's punching someone in the face going to do? Does that fix the systemic problems? Nope. Is that going to make them anti-racist? Probably not. I mean, you punch them in the face, they're probably just going to be even more angry. What is your end game? Let's be like Avengers. What is your end game? Shout out to Ski for the super chat, excuse me. The 40 acres would have been worth a fortune today. The mule, not so much. They broke their promise as usual. And this is part of the reason why we don't have generational wealth. This is why we didn't have land to pass down. We're still trying to play catch up. We're just asking to be equal. We're not asking to be better. We're just asking to be equal. And somehow, even that is too much to ask for. Going to some of the comments in the chat. Swift BMF said, ask Frank Mink, I hope I pronounced that correctly, about how effective violence is to change someone's mind. It's one of those things. Unknown Space Pioneer said, I believe she was going to expose them in some kind of book. It wasn't about education at all to me if she reacted to Bree that way. And exposing them in a book, what does that do? How does that stop? How does that make them anti-racist though? The way, or one of the ways that you can make someone anti-racist. Oh, I did skip you, Roger. I'm sorry. Here we go. Shout out to Roger Meadows for the super chat. When one doesn't know about the other one's culture, ignorance swoops down like a vulture. KRS-One, you must learn circa 1989. Old school hip hop. Definitely true. Thanks so much, Roger, for the super chat. And I think I skipped one as well down here. Oh, that's Roger again. Roger says, I think you skipped me. Thanks so much for the super chat, Roger. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Mr. Richard Long. I'm going to call you Richard Long because I know you're trying to get me to say it. You swoop in when I'm like on a roll and you're like, she's just going to say it because she's not really, Nice try though. But thanks so much for the super chat. Absolutely. A lot of good comments in the chat, you guys. Spinka said, check out Daryl Davis. He engages with KKK members and has changed their minds. Yeah, I mean, this whole thing about her like exposing them in a book, again, I don't think that's going to make people anti-racist. If anything, that's going to make them more angry at her. I'm no rocket scientist, but that's just my take. That's just my take on this. Gamer for Life said, we love you, Sabby. Oh, thank you. I love you too. Greg Bruce said, Sabby, just call him Dick Short next time. LOL. Ah! You got me to say that is not fair. That is not fair. You still got me to say it. Oh my gosh, you guys. Come on, guys. Really? Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Yeah, so it's 7:40, so let me move on to the second story. But God, definitely go watch that interview, I'm telling you, because it will make you cringe. All right, so the next story we got to talk about, Ted Cruz. What is Ted talking about now? Let me share my screen. This is going to make you cringe, I think. All right. Let me make sure the video doesn't play. Get this, guys. I'm going to check in, make this just a tad bit bigger. One more. Uh-oh, I don't know what just happened. Hold on. Oh, I made the wrong screen bigger. Okay, here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Ted Cruz told the millions of Americans who lost their unemployment benefits on Labor Day to get a job. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Listen to this. Here we go. Let me start down here. Senator Ted Cruz reacted to the news that millions of Americans had lost their unemployment benefits as of Labor Day by telling those who were out of work to get a job. He tweeted Monday night sharing an article by ABC News that carried the headline, "Jobless Americans Have Few Options as Benefits Expire." Get a job, Cruz wrote in his tweet. There are millions of vacancies in small businesses across the nation that are desperate for workers. Okay, I'm getting to that in a minute. 3 federal unemployment aid programs were scheduled to end by Monday. The programs were the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, and a program that provided people with $300 a week in federal pandemic emergency unemployment compensation. Let me scroll down here. The end of the pandemic unemployment benefits will be an abrupt jolt to millions of Americans who won't find a job in time for this arbitrary end to assistance. Scrolling down here, many Americans have been left in the lurch with their benefits expiring. The news outlet interviewed a Detroit optician named April Stokes, who said she received $1,152 in unemployment benefits every 2 weeks, but no longer would. Stokes has had difficulty finding a job in her area that will enable her to work around her children's schedules. The government is not leaving us with any options. There are a lot of single moms out here that are really panicking right now and don't know what to do. Let me pop out. Let's talk about this for a moment. First, I'm going to tell you what I think about Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is telling people who just lost their unemployment to get a job. Ted Cruz is pretending like none of these people that have been unemployed were looking for a job. Now, are there some people who may not have been? Yes. But I know a lot of people who were laid off, who were unemployed, that have been consistently looking for work. Ted Cruz goes on to say there are several jobs, several vacancies. But notice how they never tell you what those jobs are. They never tell you, like Trump said the same thing back when he was like president. I said this as if it was a long time ago, but he used to say that like there are a lot of jobs. The job market is booming. But what are those jobs? How much do those jobs pay? Do those jobs have benefits? Because I can go online right now on Indeed, on LinkedIn, and see lots of jobs. And if you click on the description, you'll see things like part-time, no benefits, temporary, temp to perm. And this is something that you never hear them mention. You never hear them mention. They don't tell you the type of jobs. Do these jobs pay enough for you to pay your bills? What about your child care? Daycare is expensive. I talk to my friends that have their kids in daycare. Daycare is expensive. So even though there are a lot of jobs, supposedly, number one, what are the jobs? How much are they paying? Are they offering benefits? Because if they're not offering benefits, that's a lost cause. That's a lost cause for a lot of people. People need health insurance. But again, if we had Medicare for all, this wouldn't be an issue. But I digress. Are those jobs paying enough for people to be able to pay their bills and to have a decent living? Because if you're talking about jobs that are paying minimum wage, we can't live off of that. You can have 100 jobs in your city, 100 vacancies in your city. But if 70 of those jobs are paying minimum wage, are those jobs going to help you? No. They don't talk to you about that. They don't break it down like that. He just says, get a job. The same guy who tried to not only leave the state when they were going through crazy storms, when people lost their electricity, when people didn't have food and water, and people were freezing in Texas, the same dude who tried to leave the state, who tried to leave the country during a time when his state and the people in Texas really needed him, that guy is trying to tell people to go get a job. He doesn't even do the one he has. Because one thing that Ted Cruz has shown us is that when times get rough, can't count on Ted. Times get rough, Ted grabs his suitcase and is like, I'm going to Cancun. And it doesn't matter if the vacation was planned. When you're a politician, you are supposed to help the people in your district, in your state. You are supposed to serve the people. That is your job. It doesn't matter if you planned this a while back. When I saw lines of people in Texas waiting to get food, people walking down the street, people not having power, and I see this dude ready to get on the plane to go to Mexico, are you kidding me? Ted Cruz kind of reminds me of that kid we all knew when we were growing up that always ended up at everyone's birthday parties, but nobody invited them. Nobody wanted them there. But the parent of the kid having the birthday said, be nice and invite him. That's who Ted Cruz reminds me of. Same thing when I went to college. There was always that one person be like, oh, who invited? And nobody would claim inviting them, but they always ended up there. He's just very annoying to me because he says the most ridiculous things. Go get a job. Go into some of the comments in the chat. I think I saw Delthea Simmons said jobs often aren't paying enough. And even when they are, there is no job security. People today can easily work a dozen jobs or more in their lifetimes. Let me tell you guys something. When I graduated undergrad, I had a full-time job and a part-time job, not by choice. I had to have two jobs. That was just to get by. That's how little my full-time job paid. And I had a degree. I think people like Ted Cruz, I think they need to wake up. Steve Cutler says fully, but our senators and Congress people do not work for us. They work for lobbyists. This just goes back to what we've been saying for a long time. Is like, you continue to vote for these people. And you know what? I'm saying this right now. I'm saying this right now tonight. And even though Ted Cruz has done these things, even though he tried to abandon his people in Texas, now he's telling people go get a job, people will still vote for him. You know why? Two reasons. One, there are some people who only vote for someone because they're in their party. Doesn't matter who the candidate can be, they vote for their party. Kind of reminds me of that phrase, vote blue no matter who. Remember those people? No, boo. Who matters? The who really does matter. I think we're seeing that with Joe Biden. We're seeing this now, right? That the who really does matter. The second reason why people will still vote for him is because he will continue to use fear mongering about socialism. He'll continue to tell people in Texas that if you vote for his Democratic opponent, that they're going to turn Texas into California. And people will believe it. People will believe it. Rob Durden. Oh, hey, Rob. Hey, guys. Rob was on here a couple weeks ago. What's going on? Rob said, I'm a doctor between jobs and recently did a stint at Planet Fitness for $8 an hour. You guys see this? You see what I'm saying? So there's jobs, but what are they paying? Who can live off of that? I couldn't live off of that in South Carolina, and South Carolina has a low cost of living. Everyone, make sure you check out Rob's channel. Doing great work over there. So this is the whole problem with, during like Trump and Biden election, when people were saying vote blue no matter who, this is that same mentality. It's like they're just trying to get you to vote for the party at that point, not necessarily the person. And so one of the things that I tell people is pay attention to what some of these politicians do. If you see that Ted Cruz tried to bail on people when you guys needed electricity, don't even get me started with Governor Abbott. There's things to be said about that as well. But he's trying to go to Mexico, go on vacation, go chill at the beach. People freezing, don't have food. You don't owe them your vote. I'll say it time and time again. It's not owed to them. So Ted Cruz is delusional. These jobs aren't offering anything. I have a friend that's a recruiter. You know what she was telling me? That they're now getting like 500 applications for one job. So then they have to find ways to weed people out instead of going through 500 applications, because they don't. They put those applications into the applicant tracking systems called ATS. They scan them for certain words, and those are the ones that get pulled. Then they go through those and pick people for interviews. That's how it works. So one of the things they'll tend to do to weed people out is they will take the job posting down, repost it, but this time they'll increase the qualifications. I did a little research on my own, and I've noticed that some of these positions that were requiring 2 to 3 years experience, now we're asking for 5 years experience for the same pay. 5 years experience, a bachelor's degree, same pay. Some of those positions are paying less now than they were 2 years ago, but they still want you to have like 5 years experience. That's how they weed people out. Delthea said Ted Cruz isn't delusional. He's evil. Evil. He's a sociopath. Like every time I see him on TV and he begins to speak, I'm just like, oh my God, not him again. Malik, hey, Malik said, you know what we call that? Trash. Ouch. 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 Oh my gosh. Zangari said Wall Street has turned the military into a mercenary for hire death cult folks. Do not give yourselves to these brutes. And you know what? A lot of people join the military as a last resort because they couldn't find the job that they needed that would provide the amount of income that they needed to live. It's just a fact of reality. You think everybody in the military like really wanted to go into the military? No, some people did it because of the benefits. All right. We are getting into the third story because This one is interesting as well. I'm sure you guys may be familiar with this. During the Me Too movement, there was a nonprofit that was formed, and it was called Time's Up. But something has happened to Time's Up. So give me just a second. You guys make sure you smash that like button if you can. That really helps with the algorithm. I forget to say that sometimes, so I'm glad you guys remind me in the chat because I just start talking and it just goes. You know how it is. All right, here we go. Make this a little bit larger. Time's Up is in trouble. Listen to this, guys. The entire Time's Up board to step down amid Andrew Cuomo scandal. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. The entire Time Up board, including Shonda Rhimes and Eva Longoria, are now stepping down just over a week after the CEO resigned for her role in the Andrew Cuomo sexual harassment scandal. Hold on to your seat because it gets worse. Time's Up announced the shakeup in a statement over the weekend, acknowledging the current crisis engulfing the sexual harassment victims advocacy group. The nonprofit has been rocked by a scandal in recent weeks after it emerged its leaders advised disgraced ex-New York Governor Cuomo's administration after he was first accused of sexual misconduct last year. CEO Tina Chen and Time's Up Legal Defense Fund chairwoman Roberta Kaplan both resigns over their roles in the Cuomo scandal. Oh boy, you guys. Time's Up is ready for new leadership, and we want to move forcefully towards new iteration. The current board will be replaced entirely by new members over the next 30 days. 4 current board members, Ashley Judd, Colleen DeCarcy, Rafi Friedman Gerspin, and Gabrielle Salzberger, will remain on briefly to help with a smooth transition, the group said. And here is Eva Longoria, and here is a picture of Shonda Rhimes. This is a problem, you guys, and I'm going to tell you why. Time's Up. To find out that their CEO was involved in the Andrew Cuomo sexual scandal. So essentially what happened was when the first victim came forward, Time's Up, basically they sided with Andrew Cuomo instead of siding with the victim, which doesn't make any sense because the whole point of Time's Up is to support the women that are being sexually harassed and the women that have been sexually assaulted. Remember a couple months ago back, Oprah supported this. A lot of celebrities in Hollywood supported this, and they kept saying Time's Up. This came after, Harvey Weinstein like allegations and all of that jazz. So to see other women, and to be clear, it wasn't everyone on the board who did this, but the CEO was involved. To see a member of the board of Time's Up actually side with Andrew Cuomo against the victim, that totally defeats the purpose of Time's Up. Because the point of this was to help protect those women against those men who are in positions of power. And the women usually are not heard. The women usually are ignored, or the women are not believed. That was the whole point, to support them and to say to those powerful men, your time is up. So then they turn around and they support Andrew Cuomo, who later on admitted guilt. Steve, thanks so much for the super chat. Richard's real name is Harry. Oh, no. You're not going to get me on that one. You're not going to get me. I know where you're going. I'm not going to say it, but thank you for the super chat. So, what does this tell you, ladies and gentlemen? During Me Too movement, when they were saying believe women, men need to believe women. Well, some women need to believe women. And the reason why I say that is because if you are Alyssa Milano and you believe Dr. Ford, but you don't believe Tara Reid, you have to ask, what is the difference between the two? Politics, Kavanaugh Republican, Biden Democrat. What is the relationship between Alyssa Milano and Joe Biden? So what was the relationship between the CEO of Time's Up and Andrew Cuomo? Maybe she donated to his campaign. Maybe she backed him. Maybe she supported him. But she supported him over the victim, which is exactly what women were already dealing with and already facing. Your organization is supposed to be the opposite of that. You're supposed to empower these women to be able to come forward. You're doing the same thing as everybody else. And see, this is what I tell people sometimes. Even other women will be against you if the person that you're accusing, they have a relationship with that person. Sometimes it's a personal relationship. Sometimes it's a financial relationship. Sometimes it's a political relationship. And optimism of the will is correct. And Rose McGowan has lost almost everything for it. And it is true. Because when you do come out against those people, against powerful people, especially powerful men, look at how they blackballed her. Absolutely terrible. Noli said that's why so many victims don't come forward, men, women, and children. Absolutely. It was all about, hashtag me too when it was the accuser was a Republican. But where was hashtag me too, Alyssa Milano, when the accuser was a Democrat? Or the accused, excuse me, was a Democrat. Where was hashtag me too then? Which wasn't even her hashtag, by the way. A Black woman started that hashtag. She took it and made it her own and made it a thing. A lot of people don't talk about that. I saw so many, channels. I saw so many shows giving Alyssa Milano credit for that, and she took it from someone else. Going to the super chat. Roger Meadows, thanks so much for the super chat. Ted voted against Superstorm Sandy relief bill for New York, but begged Kristen Gillibrand and Chuck to support for Texas after Hurricane Harvey and made comments on New York values. Again, the political split. When it's not your party, you don't feel it's as important. When it's your party, you want everyone to fight tooth and nail for it. Listen, we cannot have women organizations doing this. We already get enough of that. People get enough of it in the workplace. They have to deal with it in the school system. We cannot have a women's nonprofit that was supposed to protect women, that told us to believe women, that said they were telling these powerful men that time is up. We cannot have one of their members on the board back the powerful men that you're supposed to be standing up against. Lucky Burrito said there are ties directly with Alyssa and her husband. There you go. Because when you say believe women, it's not just when it's convenient for you. It's not just when it's the other political party. It's not just when you don't have money involved or when you don't have a relationship involved. It means believe women all the time. Thanks so much for the super chat, Roger. He said, abolish all political parties is the answer. Do you know how much divide would go away if we didn't have the two-party system? Just imagine how many people are divided because they're Republican or because they're Democrat and just automatically just write people off because we're of opposite parties. Think of how much we would have in common if we didn't have these two parties separating us to begin with. But they don't want us to see that. They don't want us to find that out. That's their biggest fear. Because if we came together, all the things we could fight for and accomplish in this country. Going to some of the comments in the chat. Chip said, people really, really have to understand how controlled opposition, co-op, and takeover grassroots movements like Milano and BLM. And they'll get the credit for it. Sabby skipped our super chats. I did? Oh, let me see. Let me go back. I see Roger. Did it go past me? Balls. I'm sorry, Steve. You can just put it in the chat and don't send it as a super, what you were trying to say. They do go by pretty fast sometimes. Yeah. Delthea Simmons said, hashtag Me Too was a hashtag that was supposed to unite women that became a grift to protect the powerful people from a united group of survivors. You go. There you go. 37375 said Texas is going to flip. Do you think so? Do you guys think Texas will turn blue? I've been hearing about that for a while. You know, they'll try to fight tooth and nail to prevent that from happening. Could be done in ways like, I don't know, let's redraw the districts so that these districts that are heavily blue are now mixed with more red. Matt said, I have a conservative family and have voted green since 2012, but my family still thinks I'm a Democrat. I can see that too. Yes, Valerie, maybe then we could finally work together and fight the oligarchy and the 1%. Exactly. The two-party system, man. We could accomplish so much more. So much more. Robert Durden said, no way Texas will turn blue after Biden's train wreck presidency. Oh, that's a good point. Oof. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. You know, Beto O'Rourke, I really thought he had a chance of beating Ted Cruz. That was a close race. But Ted Cruz, you know, he pulled out the voters in the rural areas. Chris Neal said, if it doesn't turn blue, it'll be California in 5 years. Count on it. Oh, boy. Oh, man. You know, a lot of people have moved to Texas, man. A lot of people. There are a lot of jobs in Texas. But again, what are those jobs paying? Bill said there are plenty of right-wing movements in Latin America. Not sure why people assume all Latinos are on the left. Bill, that is such a good point to mention. Such a good point to mention. I think that people need to stop doing that because I have friends that are Latino. Some are conservative. Some are, you know, leftist. But I think that for whatever reason, in the United States, there tends to be this belief that because Latinos are a part of a the minority group that they're automatically going to vote blue. That's not necessarily true. And that's a good point that you brought that up, Bill. Notori said, I'm pretty sure Democrats are going to lose the House and the Senate. They whack ass. Oh, yes, 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 yes. And you are correct, James Root. We live in a vastly conservative country, and it is evident by how people vote, regardless of how shit the choice is. Yeah. America, and you can pull this up. I'll pull this up. We'll do this one day when we look at the United States map and how people vote. The majority of this country is actually conservative. It's a conservative country. It's more red than we realize. Um, because even some of the liberal areas in the United States, even they're still kind of conservative, in my opinion. Put it this way. If you still if you say you're liberal, but you're still against like legalizing like marijuana, eh, that's just not leftist to me. Joe Biden don't want to do that. Joe Biden don't even want to decriminalize marijuana. I know Republicans that want to decriminalize marijuana. Eric Thomas said people never get the choice to vote for true left candidates. This is truth. This is truth. You know, I felt really sorry for because I'm in an early I'm Super Tuesday state. I'm in Massachusetts, so Super Tuesday. So we get to vote a little bit earlier than a lot of the other states. And I felt really bad for people who didn't get a chance to vote for that were really like Bernie, like peeps, like I was, and didn't get a chance to vote for Bernie in the primary because Bernie dropped out before came around to their state or was pretty much, suspended before it came around. I felt bad for those people. That really sucks. Robert Durden says we are socially conservative, but economically, most of America is lefty. That's a good point, too. Good thing to think about. I mean, even like if you go to like other countries, like even in Europe, I remember the first time we went to the beach when I lived in Europe and like being like topless, like that wasn't even like a thing. Like nobody, whereas like here in America, like that's like a thing. Like people get excited, like, oh, they have nude beaches, they have this. And whereas like in Europe, it was just like, meh. We are more conservative. Yeah. Don Viejo said, better to vote for what you want and don't get it than for what you don't want and get it anyway. I don't know, Don. Like, I want what I vote for. I do. I want those things. I want those things to happen. Greg Bruce says, I hear it's never the people you want to see nude on those beaches. No comment. Ramsey said Europe is 1,000 times progressive on social issues and economic issues as well. Yeah, I did notice that. Like, it's just some of the things in this country that we're supposed to be, that's taboo. We're not supposed to talk about it. You know, um, it's just interesting to me. A friend of mine pointed this out. She was like, in America, you can have all these violent, like movies, you can have violent video games, and it's just like, whatever. But God forbid you see someone nude. Thanks for the super chat, Roger Meadows. Durden, that was me who told you about the Illinois initiative. Oh, yeah. Roger was talking about ballot initiatives. I think he was responding to Rob. Yeah, I think you responded to Rob. Yep. All right, guys, we are rolling around 8:16. Um, I know I feel bad because I did make you guys wait. Like people waited long yesterday. If you guys missed it, I was in 3D yesterday. I took down that stream. It was the weirdest experience of my life. And glad to be back to normal tonight. I won't be back here tomorrow because that's FHL Roundtable. So you can catch me over there, at least for like the second half, because I'll be back from work by then. And then you'll see me back here Friday. Friday is my chill show, you guys. So I might have a beer with my show. Depends on what we have in the fridge. I don't know what's in there. I need to check that out. But Friday will be really chill and fun. I'm going to see if I can get one of my FHL comrades to come on with me Friday, cuz we're going to talk about labor and not pregnancy labor. I'm sorry. I should be clear. We're going to talk about like organized labor. We are going to go into the general strike again. I have a more recent update. The name has changed. The demands have changed some as well. So I am going to get into that on Friday. I'm also going to talk about some of these ballot initiatives. Roger Meadows, shout out to him. He sent me some information about wages, what wages should be in the state that you live in. I'm going to connect the two. We're going to make the connection here with the general strike and the wages. And I'm gonna message CJ and see if he want to come on for that, because there's something in the works there that I can't really talk about as well. That'll be a surprise. But yeah, Friday's show will be very educational. So definitely check that out. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in with me. Again, I'll be on FHL tomorrow, and you can catch me back here on Friday. Friday is my favorite day. All right, guys, you know how we do this. Have a good night. Keep up the fight.